Yo, 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 what's up? This is Listen Up Podcast. This is your boy Sam. I'm joined by my boy B, Vanglorious. What's going on, bro?
My dear brother Numse.
Okay.
How are me? How are you, my brother Numse? No, man, I'm good, bro. I'm good. What's happening with you?
What's going on, man? Everything been good?
Oh, man, everything is everything, man. Just definitely not enough time and not enough money. So
Definitely need some more money. Definitely need
yeah,
some more time.
see, like it's definitely like that's bad. Most people have more time than money, or more money than time, and I don't have enough of either. So
Dude, you know what's crazy, dude? So the older you get, I was thinking about this the other day ago. Like the older you get, it just seems like time is like moving at like a like rapid pace, dude. Like it's moving super fast. And I'm doing everything I possibly can to slow it down, but I just cannot slow it down.
yeah, man, because you have a purpose. Like you legitimately have a purpose, strategy, and all that
Mhm.
other stuff, man. Like when you were younger and you just surviving, or just you were just existing, kind of.
Yeah, just
It's
winging
like
it.
yeah. Workday lasted like like my goodness, like this stuff is forever.
Right.
And then you just kind of, but yeah, you got a purpose now, man. So,
Yeah, bro,
so
it's
on
rough.
that note, why don't you let me hold a little something?
All right, here we go with that. But bro, have you been watching the is it me or is it like this been like the greatest NBA playoffs like in almost, I don't know, a decade?
uh,
Because we normally
I
don't get this many good rounds of basketball. Normally we have to wait till the finals to get a good rounds of
well,
basketball.
yeah, okay. So what happens is like that era, like is fading away. If you notice, Bron, Steph,
Yeah.
these people have gotten older, and it's kind of it's a little bit more dispersed, and also too, refs aren't calling this stuff so lopsided
Yeah.
in favor of the marquee name. So I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, you got a point.
Yeah, it's
So
been really good, man. I've enjoyed it. You know, when I can watch it because they want to play games at 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, bro, nobody's staying up. Nobody's gonna watch tip off at 10:45 at night. Like,
yeah, yeah, and of course, uh, OKC lost, and I'm as somebody who grew up a Sonics fan, like I got a curse of the Puget Sound. So anytime they lose, every time
yeah,
they get happy, I'm all for that. So yeah, shout out
yeah,
Dallas.
yeah. I mean, OKC not going nowhere though. They're gonna be back. They got some big time.
Yeah.
They got some
Oh,
shot makers. A lot
yeah.
of cat room.
I want them to get close and then like get the rug pulled. Get the rug pulled from under
You
them.
know, most of your sports viewing perception is you rooting against other people's teams. I noticed
Yeah.
that about you. Yeah.
About who? About me?
Yeah, like you like the haters on the Dave Chappelle show. You know what I'm saying? Like you fire other
No,
people's teams and
what
you
you
just like
what
bag
what
them.
are you
I'm like,
talking about? You
just
can't even
something
give
I
me an
it's
example.
just it's something I noticed, bro. It's just something I
What,
noticed. You find teams, you be like, this team
you know what?
diabolical. I don't like this team, and you just hate on them. So
Nah, what are you talking about,
so now
man? Like, nah.
OKC, everybody like the little high school OKC team with the young kids, but here you go. Well, I'm
But
glad they
but
lost.
but no, but why is it? Why is it though? Because I was a Sonics fan and they stole my team.
What
David
does Shea got to
Stern.
do with that? Shea has nothing to do with that.
No, did you hear me say I don't like Shay? Did you hear me say that?
You might as well say it.
Oh, see, here we go. Did we just have that talk about what type of demographic, that little logic that you just did?
I did
Did
it.
we just have that conversation?
Yeah, I got you in full mode right now.
Oh, agenda driven, but that's all
Yeah,
right. Man.
definitely agenda driven.
All
And
right.
then you got the Wolves playing the Nuggets tonight. You think the Wolves gonna pull it off?
Uh, no, I think Denver's gonna get that. I think Denver's gonna get that.
It's gonna depend on the first 5 minutes. If the Nuggets are knocking shots down, then they're gonna win. If they are like that last game, they just couldn't hit anything. Last game, they was getting the open shots. They just couldn't hit nothing. So
Yeah, I kind of think they were I they played that game, in my opinion. They played it uh like we'll see if we can get this one early, but if we can't, let's chill out. because it was weird. Because to me, they needed they needed to get that. They
To me,
needed
I
to
thought
get
they needed to win that game too. They needed to rest Murray, Calf, and they needed to kind of. And I, yeah, they needed to rest Murray, and I think the Jokic needed to rest too. But I mean, if they gonna play the Mavericks, I think they'll beat the Mavericks. But the Mavericks gonna be tough because if Luca, if he get healthy, if he get like a little healthier, and if Kyrie, like you got them two of the best shot makers in the NBA, man.
that's it. I'll tell you, like I told Alex, shout out to Alex, FSU Alex, the number one Adam Fuller hater. Um, it's matchups, man.
Yeah,
That like Denver's a bad matchup for Dallas. It's a bad matchup.
yeah,
It really is. And Minnesota is not a good matchup for Denver.
right.
I mean, or in for the most part, and then, but inside of that, people talk about, oh, uh, Gobert rookie defensive player of the year getting schooled, but I was like, he's a bad matchup. He's like that's the thing about playoffs. You get the same team over and over. So if it's a bad matchup in game one,
Yeah.
it's a bad matchup in game seven. That's where
Yeah.
it's going to be.
But what's crazy though? He actually guard Jokic as good as you can possibly guard him. I mean, people can say what they want to say, but he actually like them shots Jokic is making over him. Like those are tough shots, dude. It,
I would.
it,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm just saying, like people keep talking about that matchup, but I'm like, the first game he held Jokic to like 20 something points, and then the third game, Jokic didn't play great in the first quarter or whatever, but it's like if Jokic is gonna hit that little sky off the bank shot, like
Yeah.
over the square, if he gonna hit that shot 10 times, bro, it's like Tim Duncan. You're probably not gonna stop him today. Like that, if that's
Yeah.
going in, you're not if he's making all them touch shots around the basket, yeah, he's
Yeah.
probably going for 35 before the fourth quarter. Yeah, he's probably doing that. Yeah.
Yeah. And case in
And if
point, like here's what I believe. I believe like Anthony Davis plays him best. A lot of people don't want to like admit that.
yeah,
Anthony Davis plays Jokic the best because Anthony Davis can go for 40 on Jokic.
right,
So that and I think Karl Anthony Towns is better against Jokic because he can go like Rudy's not gonna make Jokic do anything.
right.
Like he's not gonna make him do anything. So the way you gotta offset uh, Jokic is you gotta I mean he's gonna give you 30, 10, or and 9.
Right.
You gotta go for 35 and like soften some of that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah, you do. I mean, you got to make it work a little bit, but when he's in that zone he got in the other night ago in game, what was that, game 4? Like
Oh yeah,
when he get in that zone, you're not especially if he's hitting wide open 3-pointers, like it's pretty much a wrap. Like you're gonna get beat, And if his
yeah,
guys are if like I tell everybody, if Michael Porter Jr. hit 15 points and he get 8 to 9 rebounds, then you're losing. Like you're not beating him because he normally don't even play well. Like but when he have one of those 20-point games, that's over. Like the game's over because you can't double everybody. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah.
So,
And I think it's going to be like if the Wolves get beat, excuse me, Nuggets get beat, it's going to be ultimately because Michael Porter Jr., as everyone talks about, like if he does this, the problem is with Michael Porter Jr., he's not. You can't count on that 15 and 7 from him.
yeah,
And impact. And that's going to be because who would have thought Aaron Gordon would have been
dude,
like
he's a beast, dude. He does everything for that team. But
Aaron Gordon is what Michael Porter Jr. should be doing.
yeah. But man, I don't know. That's a great series of that Wolves and I ain't gonna
Yeah,
lie, low key, I would love to see the Wolves play Boston because I think they would dismember Boston. I really do.
man,
I really do. I would love to
man,
see. I would love to see
it,
Minnesota play Boston because I would like to see because I think Ant would probably. I think he would do some disgusting things to Tatum and Brown. I really do.
but again I look at that matchup and I'll say this. I look at that experience too. Like, it's the
Nah,
NBA Finals, man. Like, don't discount that, man.
nah.
It's the NBA Finals.
Tatum will fold like a brick when he see Ant come to that whole dunking every time and
Okay.
then guard him 94 feet.
Okay. Well, like, yeah. I think he's going to. If anything, I think he's going to be on Jalen Brown.
Well, he definitely taking the ball from Jalen Brown because everybody does. But
Well,
man,
yeah,
let's move on, man.
yeah,
'Cause I could go all day with NBA talk right now because NBA
yeah,
is so good right now, dude. It's
yeah.
so good,
It is. It is.
man. So anyway, they had ACC meetings this week. Um, a lot of coaches talking about the um the conference basically being, dead on arrival. Conference pretty much is dying out. Which, what I do find funny about this whole conference, like realignment talk with FSU and all these other teams, it's like people are acting like this stuff is like breaking news this year when it's like literally been going on for almost a decade now. And I think that's kind of funny. Like people doing like emergency podcasts on, what's going on with the ACC contracts. And I'm like, dude, this has been like a 10, 15-year process that, this was the only way it was ever going to go. So, um, couple interesting comments that I heard from the ACC meetings was I listened to Mario Cristobal. He sounded he didn't sound like he sounded the last 2 years. He sounded actually very confident this year with the team he got now. And I think it's mainly because of the quarterback and the
Yeah.
offensive line, which I still got to see them replace Cohen and Matt Lee because that was two pretty good pieces on the offensive line. But and then Dabo comments about the portal. He hasn't taken a single portal player, and I found that kind of interesting. A lot of people have been. What's weird to me is people are really mad at him about that. And I don't understand that. Like, y'all are mad when kids jump into the portal 5 and 6, 7 times, but then people are also mad that Dabo doesn't take portal players at the same time. Like, what do you think about that?
Well, first of all, as far as Mario, I mean, I agree. He's confident because he has this quarterback, right?
Yeah,
And I'm interested to see what they're going to do with that because, like, the jury's still out on that because not for the same reason everyone is just saying that, oh, because he's Mario, he's going to mess it up.
right.
I'm not saying that. I think eventually a person can out recruit their coaching, right?
Yeah, we've seen
Um,
it. We've seen it done.
yes. But I'm still interested. I'm still kind of like, because I don't necessarily believe that um that team is built completely. You know what I
Right.
mean? I think they have some good pieces in certain areas, but I think they're thin. I think they're thin. They actually kind of remind me of a little bit of FSU in 21 going into 22. They're gonna hit. They got some like the places where they need to be, like, oh wow, okay, these are going to be our leaders. But
Mhm.
after that, somebody goes down, like it's immense. But as far as Dabo and people mad about Dabo and that, I personally, I'm glad he's not doing that because I mean, if he's just relying on just the same one way of to go about doing this stuff, I, I like our chances. However, I'm always going to say that Dabo's doing the one thing he needs to do that every coach needs to do, and that is definitely lock up their high school recruiting. I don't care, portal proponent or not. I just don't believe that you can. I'm not saying that we totally ignore, but I think there's some positions that you need to be taken care of at the grassroots level. And I don't have a problem with Dabo in that regard because he's doing it. Well, actually, I do have a problem with that because he's very good on the defensive line and offensive line.
Yeah, I
So
think I told somebody it's commendable to me because I do think it's hard to look at your roster and get intrigued by the ideal of bringing in a guy here and a guy there, and instead of hoping the guy develop, just getting the guy that you say, well, I think he can do this, instead of taking your lumps with the guys that you brought in. So I do kind of find it commendable what he's doing. Um, I think people feel like what I found weird about this is if you think that high school recruiting is kind of like the draft, right? And the portal is kind of like free agency. To me, I mean, Green Bay Packers don't really sign a bunch of free agents. Like they don't really go that route. You know what I'm saying? But they're gonna consistently be in the playoff hunt every single year because of what they do evaluation wise and how they draft. Pittsburgh Steelers, I know they did go get a linebacker this year at the draft, but for the most part, they don't really I mean not the draft, but the free agency. But for the most part, they don't really participate in free agency as much as everybody else does. So there's some teams that don't do it. And a lot of times, like I know last year, people made a big deal about Dabo not going the portal route, and that's what hurt his team. And I told some, I said, well, if you look at the roster, I mean, where was you going to take a guy at? Like they was pretty good at linebacker last year. They was good on the defensive line. They was good in the secondary. The quarterback, I mean, you recruited the 5-star quarterback. I mean, is you going to play the guy? So then you turn around and say, well, he could have taken a wide receiver. Well, the wide receivers he had was guy that had been in the system 2-3 years that was highly rated guys, and they got hurt. They had injuries as
Yeah.
the year went on. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, well, where exactly did you want on the portal at? And I think with FSU situation, as far as Mike Norvell losing a portal, and I told him, I think I said this on the podcast. When he was at Memphis, he used the JUCOs a lot. That was a JUCO program. They took transfers when he was at Memphis. So it's not like a newfound phenomenon with him. Like people making it sound like, oh, well, he's only doing it for now. I was like, no, I think this is
Yeah.
gonna be his direction as long as Mike Norvell's at FSU. He's gonna be in the portal, JUCO, trying to get older guys in here. And I think that's why he does struggle at high school recruiting, because now we're kind of asking him to do something that he's not really that familiar with. You know what I'm saying? At the grassroots level. You know what I'm saying? Um, and I do
Yeah.
think FSU is actually recruiting. Well, we could talk about this now because some people make a big deal about the recruiting class right now. Where it sits and who they in for and everything like that. And I think we got fairly enough evidence, right, that the class is going to be anywhere between rank number 15 to probably number 10. Like for the duration of as long as Mike Norvell's here. Like that's going to be kind of where it's going to be kind of ranked at, right? 10 to 15. Under that lens, that's what it is. There's no reason to get mad about it.
Well, okay.
Because you could do better, but I think there's enough proof there to say that this is what it's going to be. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I ain't saying it's a good thing. I'm just saying if you're in the ACC, you can win the ACC doing that. You know what I'm saying? Like you can win the
Yeah.
ACC with the number 15 ranked class and bringing in a porter class or the number 5 or 6 number porter class, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Filling in needs.
Yeah. Okay. Starting with Dabo, the only place that I think you could have really like looked at a portal thing, but a portal player, but you really couldn't, is that quarterback. But that was hindsight 50. Hindsight is
Yeah,
2020, right?
right.
But unless they saw going into the spring, I mean, coming out of the spring and into fall camp, that this was going to be an issue. y- I mean, again, you this is a 5-star. This is his first year started.
Right.
So I mean, you can't. But um,
I guess my
so
point would be when people get upset, it's like, when do you want him to play that? When are you supposed to put the high school guy into the game? Like when he's supposed to develop and play, and for you to see what you got in that prospect. If you keep putting older guys in front of him, I mean, the players never. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like a catch-22.
yeah, yeah, like so again, like this is a thing that he's done, um, and I would say as Clemson, if I was a Clemson fan, I would find it troubling that he he has gotten to the point where you start wondering if his stubbornness, if is he cutting his nose off to spite his face?
I think. I think. It's saying that Clemson. Listen up, Clemson. But I think the biggest problem with Clemson is the offense. Is it needs to be revolutionized. Like he needs to allow that guy that he brought in to coach the offense to coach offense, right? He need to let that guy do his job. I don't think it's a I don't think it's a talent situation. Like the portal is just another way to bring talent in. But if you're like Clemson's still going to have, if you
Yeah.
look at the class they brought in last year and the class they brought in this year, they're going to have 10 NFL players on their team next year. Like I'm not even they are. Go look. They
No,
are.
no, 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 no. I'm
Yeah,
not
so
disputing that.
so my thing, if you got 10 NFL players on your team in the ACC, it's a pretty good chance you're gonna win 10 to 11 games. His
Yeah,
thing is his offense. His offense needs to evolve. Now, if somebody say his offense ain't evolved and that's holding them back, I would agree with that. But I don't think they have a talent problem. I don't think they have a talent problem. Like, go look at their recruiting classes. It's not a talent problem.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I'll agree, and that's kind of what I'm saying. Like, is a stubbornness kind of is a stubbornness not necessarily about just the portal, but just period.
Mhm.
Because you're not the only person talking about shit. Like, hey, there's an issue. Let Lincoln do that. Not Lincoln, but let Garrett. Is it Garrett Riley?
Yeah, Garrett Riley, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, let baby Lincoln, do this, do that, and part of that is we do we do this, this way here at Clemson. You know what I'm
Right,
saying? So again, I don't know if this is cutting his nose off to spite his face, but
right.
in regard to Mike, I agree. Um, I, I don't necessarily think 15. I think 12 is pretty much where it like if he continues this run as far as like let's say winning like conference titles, if you will.
Mhm.
I think 15 is really, really low because I think some of that takes care of itself.
Right.
Some of that take care of itself. Like I think 12, I think it'll be anywhere from like 8 to 12, I
Mhm.
think, because I think a lot because winning cures a lot of stuff. Like it legitimately does. But I will say this though, until like we have to ask ourselves like what he values about like recruiting classes as far as like numbers and ratings and all that stuff. Because to me, it appears that he values less about these rankings as it is about these players and the fit for his thing. Even though I will say this, it's always funny that like very few of these super high ranking kids fit this fit the
Well,
scheme
I
that we're
mean
doing.
I
But
mean, you let certain people tell it, Cromani wouldn't have been a fit here at FSU, but they was show singing happy birthday to him, you know?
yeah,
So, you know, they're fit when they come, right?
yeah,
They're fit when they commit, you know what I'm saying? They're not a
yeah,
fit when they don't come.
yeah.
So, people can take that how they want to. I think and then, I think people with the recruiting thing, it's a zero sum game. So, what your intentions are with these kids and what happens, it only matters if they come and if they develop. That's really all that matters. So
Yeah.
I just don't think they're ever going to be like a top recruiting juggernaut
No,
staff
no.
unless something like drastically changes. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Well, by drastically, you mean people leave.
right, coaches leaving. Yeah,
Yeah, like yeah. That's
yeah.
that's the only way, in my opinion, that's gonna because at the same time, man, like you are who you are. I mean,
Well, I
and
mean,
if
once you get enough evidence, you are who you are. Like,
yeah,
once you
yeah,
look at it for
this is
4 years,
year 5.
yeah, we're in year
Yeah.
five now. I mean, realistically,
They're
you know
not
what it is.
sales. There's a couple people. Excuse me. There's only you only got only a really couple good like competent sales people on your staff.
Right, right,
So
yeah.
it's
So
just what it is.
yeah, that's what it is. I'm not. I mean, I'm not really upset about it. Not mad about it. I mean, I think that the bigger issue I think with people, they keep talking about the FSU and what's going to happen with them. Like this year, like I told them, I'm very fascinated to see what's going to happen this year with the team. Like,
Yeah.
I think it's a good enough. I think they're a top three team in the conference. I think you got this is not in order. This is not in order. I think you got FSU, Miami, Clemson, the top three teams in the conference. if I would be surprised if any team wins the conference outside of those three teams. And but I also think with the way they recruit, you can win the ACC. I think the way they recruit would be a problem if you was in like the SEC or the Big Ten. Like
Yeah,
I think it would be a problem, right? Like I don't think I don't think you're gonna go win the SEC or the Big Ten. Like even I know a lot of people felt like last year they had a chance to, beat Michigan with Tate Rodemaker. I personally do not, but that conference is a different animal, it's a different beast. And I'm only saying that because you can go look at the draft. Like all those teams have 4 to 5 to 6 NFL players on them, all of them. Like, and I think when you look at FSU, you know, the ACC, the Wake Forests of the world, the Boston Colleges, the Pitts, teams that would normally be good every 2 or 3 years, now they have no ability to actually be good because their players are being rated constantly. Like Wake Forest best wide receiver just went to Nebraska. You know what I'm saying? Like
yeah,
these teams at the bottom that got good coaches. I mean, ACC still have good coaches in it. To me, I think their coaches are just as good as any coaches in
yeah,
America. But I think because they can't keep their talent anymore, like Pitt has no chance of ever being good again,
yeah.
unless
It's a wrap.
unless like they end up in the Big Ten. They have no path for being good again, right?
Yeah,
Wake Forest have no path to be good again, in my opinion.
yeah.
So
Like it's funny. Like Pitt, to your point, man. Like Pitt's going to be one of those teams or schools where they're always going to have really good defensive linemen and defense, but they're not going to be
they're not
like
going to stay
11-1.
there. They're not going
Yeah,
to stay there anymore.
yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. But I will say this though. You were talking about like how they recruit. They were in these particular conferences. I think they could recruit like this and be in the Big Ten and be successful in the Big Ten more than they could do that in the SEC. Because here's what I believe: I believe we're in the SEC. We don't have the staff.
why you say that?
I just I believe there's a different tolerance level um, that's accepted in conferences. And like, look how irrational South Carolina is.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it would change because FSU would lose more games in the SEC with how they're currently constructed, right?
Yes, and that's again tolerance level. And it's like you can't get, you can't lose. Um, I don't know. I don't think this particular staff, as it's comprised, that would be able to or do some of the things that it's able to do and fans accept it if it was in the SEC.
Well, yeah,
Just don't believe.
because when you lose to a South Carolina and it's a player on there that you recruited in high school that you didn't get and he's killing you, it touches a nerve. You know what I'm saying? Like we
Yeah,
right. So it's a little different. So I
yeah,
think well, I don't know. I guess I'm just not too wrapped up in it because I just feel like complaining about something that's not going to
yeah,
change as far as how they're going to recruit and how that goes. It's not really going to change.
yeah. And don't get me. Don't who's ever listened to this. Don't get this twisted. Like this is a fire the staff person. This that and the other. I'm just saying. I just think you can do. This is fine because we're here, type of thing.
Right,
But I think if you go somewhere else, again, this is year 5. Like
right,
this is to me, this is the easier path to a college football playoff.
right,
Then you see what I'm saying? And if you're not, I mean, you're top 3 in that conference in recruiting or whatever, but I mean, you're top 15 in the nation, and that's fine, and that's
right.
fine. But again, what are you trying to do? I just don't believe that if I think you could live with this longer in the Big Ten than you could if you were in the SEC. I just
Yeah, I don't necessarily agree with that, but but
but
yeah, because I think people look down on the Big Ten a little bit because it's. But if you just look at the development and the NFL guys that's put out of the Big Ten consistently over the last like 6 or 7 years, to be honest with you, last year I thought the Pac-12 was the best conference in college football last year. I thought the Pac-12 was the number one conference in college football, and I thought the Big Ten was number two. I thought the SEC was number three.
okay,
Um,
hold on, stop. Why did you say Pac-12?
They was just better. To me, they was up and down better than the other conferences. They had better quarterback play. They had really good defensive lines and offensive lines in that conference last year.
Okay,
Um,
name the teams that like.
I mean, Washington, Oregon, those teams could play and beat anybody in the country. Then you go
Okay,
back, you go down to in the middle of their conference. They had
okay, you
they
say
had
Utah. We'll give you
Utah.
Utah.
I like Utah, and I liked it. Washington State to me wasn't, terrible. Oregon State wasn't terrible. I thought, when you look at those teams, I just think they had a better conference. And if you look this year, all those teams got rated. Oregon State got rated. All their players are going to the Big Ten. Like um teams at Washington State got some players that got rated. Florida State when they got players off of Oregon State's team, right?
Yeah,
So I'm just saying, like they was pretty loaded. Those teams was pretty loaded in the trenches and quarterback play. They had the best quarterback play in the country last year. So I just thought the Pac-12 was the
yeah.
best conference last year. That was
I,
my opinion.
I was wondering if you. I was wondering if you were going to throw Arizona in there. That's what
Yeah,
I was waiting.
one or two. That's what I'm saying. I'm
Okay,
like it was pretty top to bottom.
okay,
I thought it was
okay,
pretty good. So
okay.
now I thought the Big Ten was second behind the Pac-12. You know, because I don't think nobody had more talent than Michigan and Ohio State than those two teams in the country. I thought those two teams had probably the most talent of anybody in the country. Granted, of course Georgia's up there, but I didn't think that Bama team was that talented, to be honest with you. I thought it was good in some spots, but I didn't think it was that talented, especially at quarterback. And then you go
Yeah,
to yeah, right. So then
yeah,
after Bama
yeah,
and Georgia, there's nobody else really in the SEC.
yeah.
And
Okay.
we know in
I
the
was just.
we know in the ACC was terrible last year. Right.
Hey, I just wanted to. I just wanted like I just wanted to know where you're going with it, just because.
No, but
Uh,
my point is, I think what you can do with the mindset that FSU has, the way they're recruiting the talent, the acquisition they got, what you doing, you can do that in the ACC. You can probably win the conference every other year. I mean,
okay.
unless Miami like hit on like a phenom freshman quarterback, you know what I'm saying? Like unless they hit on that,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
right. So I'm saying, I mean, it's possible, but unless they do that, you're pretty much in safe hands, right? And then, unless Clemson hit on another phenom freshman quarterback, you're probably pretty much in safe hands. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah. I
I
mean,
think,
fair enough. Fair enough. I mean,
yeah,
I don't think you got to worry about man unless Cam Ward just goes absolutely stupid. I, high school
y-
quarterbacks really got to look at be like, do I want like am I
yeah, we say
mortgaging my
that we say
future
that
on?
about Miami, but guess what? Players go there every single year, and we be pissed
No,
off
I
because
said
we want
no,
to.
no. I'm talking about specifically high school quarterbacks. And do I want to mortgage my future on that particular program and under that particular staff? That's what I'm saying. Like, oh, the skill positions and like the trenches or whatever, most definitely because they paying and like they send people to the league.
Yeah,
So I mean, I like don't get me wrong, I can stand Miami, but I'm not blind.
right.
Like,
So I think it'd be interesting, but I mean, you know, uh, once they get out of the ACC, because I think that's going to happen within a year or two. We'll see how does that change. Um, how does that change the recruiting? How does that change the expectations? You know, how does that change what's possible? Once they get out of the ACC. But right now where they're at, I mean, they should be able to win 10 games with really no issues. You know, to me.
okay, so let me ask you this then. This is probably like, and because you and I talked about this actually a couple years ago about leaving the conference and all this other stuff, and actually you were the first person really, to me to actually put a destination, right?
Right.
Uh, like just talking to me. I'm not saying whoever put that out there or whatever. So number one, do you still think we're going to exit this conference, and if so, when?
I think it's gonna be in the next year and a half. Um, the thing that I think I've come to the point of, I don't think they're going to. It's tough for me to see a path for them getting into the Big Ten currently. That's
Really?
gonna be that's a tough road to hoe. I don't know if your goal is to get into the Big Ten and that's the only place you want to go as a FSU, as the administration of FSU, then I think it's going to take you longer to get there because you know, people can say what they want to say about you know documentations, all other stuff, but ESPN and Disney can lock you up into lawsuits for the next decade, and it wouldn't bother them one bit. It wouldn't. It wouldn't phase them to spend $2 million a year just having you locked up in lawsuits, right? Like
Yeah.
in litigation and lawsuits, right? That it wouldn't bother it wouldn't bother the SEC, ESPN, and Disney. Like they have way more money than Fox, right? So like, cause I keep hearing people keep saying this stuff, and I'm like, listen, to like, dude, the mouse has more money than Fox. Like this ain't even close. Like they got more money, so that's not the problem. So I think the biggest path would be for FSU to kind of broker some type of deal with ESPN and to be like, let us go into the SEC, and that'd be good for the SEC. And trying to broker some type of deal where you can kind of keep FSU, Miami, and Clemson together. Um, that'd be the bigger. That'd be the bigger. That'd be the easiest path to me. I think there's a path where they go independent and they just sell off and ship off games. I think that's a pretty realistic path to me where they go independent for a little while and you sell the Notre Dame FSU game to Peacock, right? Or you sell the FSU Miami game to ESPN, or you sell it to YouTube TV. I mean, not YouTube, but Amazon Prime, right? Or you sell a game to Apple, right? Sell games to Apple, and I think that might be an easier path than getting to the Big Ten. To be honest with you, because I do think we're going to see more and more of these digital cable channels buying individual games, right? So,
Yeah.
so I
Yeah.
think that's already here. Like Netflix is going to air an NFL game next year, so I always told people the next thing for Apple and Amazon Prime is going to be football. They already, I mean, Peacock and Amazon, Peacock and Apple are already into soccer. So football is next. And then basketball is going to be on Peacock soon. So that's next. So finding a way where you can individually sell off your games, if you FSU, that's the path. But the problem with that is if FSU, this is why I say it's gonna be tough because if ESPN and Disney decide, okay, FSU, we'll let you go, that's fine, but we're not gonna let everybody else go, right? So you're gonna be an independent by yourself. Now, who does Florida State play in these football games? Because ESPN can basically come out and say nobody can play FSU, so I'm not gonna let Miami play FSU.
No, they can't. No, they
Well,
can't.
it could.
No, they can't, because now we're talking out of conference games, and they don't have rights to out of conference games necessarily.
Right, but you would have to schedule the game 5 years in advance. So how would you do it if your schedule's already been set and then they've already got rid of the schedule? You say you're not in the ACC anymore. Now what do you do?
Not all of these
Oh,
games are scheduled 5 years in advance.
okay, well, if you got they already did another part of it. The ACC has already added the teams into the conference that they needed to keep the conference
Hmm.
together. So they can
Yeah,
say, "Oh, well, we're just going to replace FSU with SMU on your schedule, or we're going to replace FSU with Stanford on your schedule since they're gone." So I guess that'll be the only concern. So then you'd be playing teams from the Pac-12 or you'd be playing teams from the
the
Big
Big
12.
12, Big
So
10.
right, maybe you can get some Big Ten team. I know you can still get Notre Dame because they're independent. Like Notre Dame can do whatever they want to do. So you can still get the Notre Dame game. So I guess that's when it becomes a problem. And then with that thing, once you do that, it's gonna be really hard for you to get in the playoffs. Not saying it's gonna be impossible. but it's gonna be tough because you're gonna be independent, and they can say your schedule ain't worth the crap, and
Well,
they can
I
make
mean,
that argument. They can make that argument, and they
yeah,
could be right.
and that FFPI and
Right.
RPI and all that other stuff.
Mhm.
But I would say this: the out of conference, they can still like Clemson, Miami. Because here's what's gonna happen if they did go that route. Clemson, Miami's still gonna want to play FSU because you could pay $300,000 to get rid of Furman and FIU.
Right.
Like it's still going to be their highest, maybe aside from South Carolina from Clemson, still going to be the highest rated and money making game to play at FSU. Like it will be. Now, what you can also do is play Auburn.
Mm.
Like you can bring that rivalry back. I don't think that's the issue.
I think you
I
would be
really don't.
very
I really
surprised.
don't.
I think you'd be very surprised if ESPN sent a memo to these schools, or they ain't got to send a memo. They can just go pop up at Auburn or pop up at these schools and say, "Hey, I don't want you scheduling FSU."
Um, I
And I think that could very well happen. I think that's
I
the.
think
I'm saying these are the fears that you run into if they let you out of the conference and you don't end up in another conference, which I think it's possible that you don't end up in a conference because I think with the because what's happening now is the Big Ten and the SEC, they're going to be a super conference, right? So the problem is, how long does that take? We know for a fact that the NCAA is being sued. So we know that eventually the NCAA is going to say that they are bankrupt. This is going to happen. They're going to say we don't have any money. They're going to say this. This is going to happen. This is going to be a real thing, right? They're going to settle.
which is crazy.
They're gonna settle. They're gonna settle these lawsuits. They can say, "Hey, we ain't got a lot of money. We'll give y'all X amount of dollars." Right? They're gonna pay football off. Get rid of football. They'll have enough money to pay girls volleyball because that's all federal government stuff, federal government money anyway. So they'll be like, "We can keep the girls volleyball, or we can keep girls softball, we can keep basketball. We'll use the money from Title IX that we get from the government, subsidize that by the, they'll be able to pay that and keep that, right? But football, they're
Okay.
gonna say we can't afford to keep football because the piece of the pie that y'all want to cut these checks for is too big. It just bankrupt the NCAA. So the NCAA is gonna be called something else. I guarantee this is gonna happen in the next 5, 6 years. Like the NCAA is gonna be a different name, a whole different entity because the NCAA is gonna be bankrupt because they're gonna get sued. This is gonna happen. This is happening in real time right now. So once that happens, the Big Ten, the SEC is going to be a super conference. They're going to be a super minor league conference. That's going to happen. So once those two things happen, if you like I keep telling you, if you're FSU at this point, you might as well just wait for the dominoes to fall. Like you could just sit here and wait. Like, what's the reason to piss off ESPN and Disney and the apple cart right now? Because Disney and Fox is finna run college, it's finna run football in general. You know, they're gonna put you in a super conference. Like Wake Forest might be out, Boston College might be out,
Might
it might be out, but
might.
you're gonna be in, right? If you don't piss off the apple cart. You know what I'm saying? So, I thought the stuff they're doing, like the stuff FSU doing now they got the conference, I thought they should have did that 7 years ago. I think now it's kind of like I feel like we just kind of flushing taxpayers' money down the toilet right now. You know what I'm saying? So that's where I'm at with it, man.
Yeah. Okay. Um, I get, I mean, I'm not definitely plausible. I just don't necessarily believe that the independent thing. I think is a real, like, is real. Like, I
If
think
you
that's real.
if you
We
can get
talked about
that, yeah, if you can get that and like you can schedule like, especially if Prime is still at Colorado, if you can get you like a, a NutriSite
that. Oh yeah.
Colorado versus FSU on Peacock, bro. The way these fans irrationally hate Deion Sanders, especially if he's
Oh
gonna be
yeah.
still there. I mean, that'd be like the highest viewership ever if you can sell that game. You know what I'm saying? Like if you can get you Notre Dame FSU instead of the Apple TV, you probably get $10 million for that. You know what I'm saying? Plus the neutral
Yeah.
site.
Yeah. Now the problem with that independence is going to be, um, will are they exiting, like, say, the ACC just for football? or they exiting the ACC as a whole? Because now you still gotta schedule volleyball, tennis, and all. Like
Well, that's
you
the
can still,
problem. But you could probably sell. You probably could buy your way into a Big 12 or something like that. Which that's another one too. I think to be honest with you, the Big 12 is going to make out better than anybody in this whole situation. I really do. I think there's a real big chance the Big 12 is going to be a part of like the Big Three eventually. It's going to be a Big Three, and it's going to be the Big 12.
and
So
I believe it's probably going to be the most competitive league.
yeah, I think it's gonna. Yeah, so I think the Big 12 got a real chance because there's a lot of money in the Big 12. It really is a lot of
Yeah,
money
it's a lot
there.
of oil money.
Yeah,
It's a lot. And to be honest with you, it's always been the most competitive league. To be honest with you, because if you
yeah,
really think about it, it's less top heavy than any of the other big conferences.
hmm
And, and so um, I think that you make a fair point, but I just wondered like how FSU was going to deal with women's basketball and softball and soccer, and like it's one thing to schedule, okay, it's football, but like I would assume ACC is like you want out in one, you want it out in all.
right. Well, they're not
It's-
gonna let you. They're not gonna let you leave your other sports in here. I
yeah,
mean, if you get out, you're getting out. Like, good luck. With the rest of those sports. So at this point, man, you just gotta hope. I guess my biggest hope is that the NCAA gets this lawsuit. It becomes a whole different entity, and the super conferences take over. Big Ten, SEC. You end up in one of them, and that's that. You know, I would like to do it the Notre Dame way, where you can just auction off these games, bit by bit. Um, that to me is the more physical, like money wise. I think you can make more money doing it that way, personally.
yeah, I wish they could just somehow, some way go to like Prime and just like have every game on Prime,
Yeah,
every sport. They basically have a Garnet and Gold channel on Prime,
right. That's the
and
best way.
then
If you can do it that way, that yeah, you can get Amazon in here to float the bill for you. You'll be straight, But right now, I don't really like what they with this lawsuit situation. I don't really like where FSU stands at with all this stuff because to me, they can just tie this stuff in litigation for years. Like there's no like, he- I just don't see a path. Like if he is because like I guess the people keep making this assumption that there's some type of smoking gun that's laying somewhere, and it's really not. Like it's not. Like they can, what I'm saying? Like there's no smoking gun. Like
well, if
you're
there
gonna pay.
is,
You're gonna pay to
we
get out of here. You're gonna pay to
well,
get out of here.
if there is a
So
smoke gun, they didn't hire the right law firm to find it,
it's
from what
not.
I'm reading.
It's not a smoking gun. It's just the thing people keep saying was, when they left us out of playoffs. Okay, they have a million different reasons why they can say they did that. They don't have to that a jury doesn't have to discuss why your college football team got a judge and a jury don't have to look at that and be like, oh, this isn't right. They can say it's not right, but to a letter of the law, they can look at that and be like, that's nothing. That doesn't do
Yeah,
anything.
I mean they can, but
It,
that,
it just reads like a
it,
bunch of message board stuff. Like
yeah,
you're regurgitating message board stuff in the court of law. Like people like
yeah,
these,
yeah,
and then people talking about it going to the circuit court. And I'm like, once you go to the circuit court, those people really don't have time for this shit. You know, like the people really be
mhm.
like, okay, all right, let's kick this back down. That
Yeah,
decision was good enough. Because now you're
I,
asking a judge to change the decision of another judge. And, and we know that that takes 10, 15 years to happen.
nah, nah, no, not in this case.
I don't think it's gonna go fast. That's my point.
Well, I don't think I don't.
It's great for content though, but it's just
Well, I mean, define fast, number one, because that's all relative when you're talking about like,
the law. Right.
yeah, but I believe, I definitely believe that there's enough there that like some of the stuff that ESPN has done or excuse me, the ACC or whatever. There's a lot of that stuff. I mean, it was just a bad contract, right? And I believe there's a way to get out of it, but there's not a way to get out of it cheap. And that's ultimately the end goal right there. And like ESPN or whomever you want to say is pulling these strings back here, like they're protecting, like they're trying to keep as much money, not necessarily you pay us, but
Yeah.
they don't want it's like this, man. It's um like Tesla, right? People who have Teslas are mad because they spent $100,000 for this Tesla. Elon and slash these things to $60,000.
Right.
So now this thing is less than $60,000. So ESPN is basically saying, I'm not going to slash my Tesla, you know,
Right.
like to $60,000. Like that's basically it. I mean, eventually we're not getting out of this cheap. That's eventually you're not getting out of this cheap.
Yeah. I mean,
So
you gotta pay to get out, and if you know anything about Disney, I mean, it's a lot of turnover over there, man. With ESPN, a lot of people be getting fired and getting out of their jobs, so they're gonna be like, "Oh, well, that was bad management. We got rid of those people. So what do you want us to do?"
well,
You know what I'm saying?
that's purely economical reasons, man.
Yeah.
That's what that is about. So
I mean, I'm just saying the liability. They're not gonna have any liability when it's all said and done. Like these companies don't deal with that. They don't deal with liability. They get rid of liability. They cut
and I
liability.
understand that,
They
but
write
in this
liability
case,
out.
yeah, but in this case, it wasn't like the liability meaning here are these people, but the liability here is like we're paying too much, and like
Right.
that's the one thing that's not going to go away no matter like you do the turnover unless you start paying people like what we're getting paid,
Right.
like like that's always going to be. But I mean, I also believe that they're trying to. I also believe Disney is also kind of trying to get out of some of this stuff because I think ESPN has been an expensive. It's been too expensive of a hobby for them.
Well, I would disagree because live TV is
Yeah,
still runs television. I mean, still
no,
makes a lot of money. So they're not
true
gonna get out
story.
of live television.
No, I didn't say they were trying to get out of live television. I'm saying they have to cut the cost of this hobby
Right. But
because it's more.
that's why they're getting rid of the talent though. They're getting rid of all the talent, but they're keeping live television. They're not moving away from live television.
No, no. Again, no. I mean, making a point that nobody argue. What I'm
Yeah.
telling you is they are finding ways to like, hey, okay, you know, let's just whatever. I don't want to like. I want to keep this contract as valuable as possible, but I don't want to pay X amount of millions upon millions to keep it.
Mm,
Excuse me, to keep it like as productive as possible. Like, hey, okay, let's cut some of this. Let's trim
right.
the fat on some of this. So that's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, you're right. They're not definitely not getting out of live TV. You talking about live ad revenue? You crazy?
Yeah,
Heck yeah,
it's the last thing left. It's the last thing left
yeah.
that's gonna make you profit, that's gonna make you money. And then now you got the WNBA on the rise. You know, I know they're pissed off because it's a chance they're gonna overpay for the NBA, and the NBA is gonna make you buy the WNBA. So, you know, I mean, I'm saying they're gonna make you buy it. So, I mean, you kinda football is the last is it. You know, that's it. So
Yeah, but
that's where they stand at, man. But you got anything else?
uh, I was going. No, I'm not gonna do that.
No, go ahead.
Nah, I'm not. Nah, I'm not gonna do that because you ain't
Say it
gonna have
now,
my.
forever hold your peace.
Yeah, we'll forever hold my peace because you ain't gonna have my mentions on fire.
What about
nah,
about?
nah, it's all good. It's all good. So no, man, it's good. It's cool. This is good subjects, man. I I'm just interested to know um if we leave if we're still in the conference at the start of 2025 season.
I would say no, but I think college football is gonna be so different by the 2025 season that it's gonna like make people head spin. And I say that every other year because it's like every other year it's been like that. Like college football is drastically changing so fast, dude. It's changing so quick. Like it's
Hmm. So you said next season we're not going to be in the ACC.
I don't know. I don't think we're gonna have an NCAA next season.
Ooh, yeah,
So I don't know,
yeah, dang.
bro. Go look at that lawsuit, though. That lawsuit is in the billions, and not just 1 billion. It's a few billion.
Okay, so
And if you think they're gonna pay out $40-something billion to former athletes, I just don't think that's gonna happen.
yeah, oh yeah, yeah, we yeah, that's yeah,
Just
right.
don't think. I just don't think they're. I just don't think that's gonna happen, bro. I think this whole thing is finna go belly up, and I think
They better Chapter 11 is pitching.
yeah, they can be like, hey man,
We ain't
hey,
got it, man. I
I
ain't got it,
mean,
man.
we might have made $1 trillion, but we'll pay out 2 billion. How about that? And 2 billion across what 10 or 15 sports across 200 universities. That's not a lot of money. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
You talking about what you talking about? 3,000 players out times 10 years or whatever. Like that's not a lot of money. So just it's not like people gonna be getting checks for $200. Like the price tag gonna be big when you read the headline, but the checks people gonna get is gonna be like
yeah.
$500. You know what I'm saying?
Only people that's gonna make out are the lawyers, man.
Right. The lawyer's gonna make the money. Like nobody's gonna
Yeah.
really make any money. So yeah, man, that's what I
So,
think though. Oh, I am very happy about the new college football coming back though.
oh, it's on EA Sports.
Yeah, I'm excited about that one.
Ah, yeah, man. I had to mute that on the thing, man, because I got tired of people talking about it and it ain't even there yet.
Yeah. I'm
I had to
excited
mute
about
it. I was like, man, I'm tired of seeing this on it.
it.
But
I don't even play games, but I'm finna go buy me a PlayStation. I'm finna be locked
so
in and loaded.
so then so they're not gonna pay players.
Yeah, they're gonna pay players. Yeah, they're gonna start paying them. But I'm saying all this back pay they gotta be paid by the NCAA. I'm talking about what they gotta be the back pay. The back pay is the problem.
So okay. Now I'm getting into this, and I kind of didn't want to go through this or whatever, but so if that were the case, now they're going to be putting salary caps on
We can
all
talk
of
about
this.
that. We could talk about that next episode.
See what I'm saying?
That's
See,
going
yeah,
down a whole other bridge.
yeah. All right. Okay. All right. Cool.
Yeah,
But
we
yeah,
doing
man,
that
I'm
next
good,
episode.
man. Yeah, I'm
Okay,
good,
man.
man.
Well, this has been the Listen Up Podcast. Thank y'all guys for joining. Good live show. It was dope. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you share it. Make sure you start sharing it. Make sure you go to Apple, hit that 5 stars there for me. Appreciate you.
Yes.
If you haven't done it in a
Share,
while, if you haven't hit the
support
5
me
stars,
and my
hit the 5
support
stars.
me and my brother Numsi.
Okay.